Good evening. How are you all? You good? Well, welcome and thank you so much for being here. We're so excited to be live and direct from our corporate head office here in Los Angeles. If I have not met you before, my name is Heather Hickman. I head up the US education. So not only do we have a room full of people with us this evening, we are also broadcasting live, not just across the United States, but across the world. So we have skin therapists in 86 countries that are tuning in to watch you and Jane live this evening. So I think that we should give them a big hello. Woo! We have viewing parties taking place at our training centers across the United States, and I'm sure that we have passionate skin therapists at home in their pajamas watching us as we speak. So what a better way for us really to kick off the new year and really to be able to make sure that we're all connecting together, not just here in person, but all across the world with all of your skin therapists that know exactly who you are and what you're going through. We also have some other special guests with us this evening. I'd like to welcome our top trade editors. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome, welcome. And we're also incredibly excited to be honoring some of our 100-hour postgraduate certificate of achievement recipients. If you could wave your hands up for me, you're here. Congratulations. Fantastic. So, of course, we all know who we're here to see this evening. We're here to see the founder and our chief visionary of the International Dermal Institute and Dermalogica, Jane Wurwand. Many of you have met Jane in person. You know what an inspirational person she is to our industry. But I think the most important thing about Jane is that she's an inspirational person for women. She believes in you as business owners. And there's very few industries in the world that really look at women as being the leaders in a specific industry. How many of you here are business owners or endeavor to be a business owner? Oh, congratulations to you. It's fantastic. Jane is also a member of the Clinton Global Initiative. She was voted most influential woman by the Los Angeles Business Journal. And those of you, we'd like to thank you for all of the participation that you have in Join Fight, which Jane and Dermalogica founded, and we've now exceeded our goal of funding 25,000 women in business, and I believe that we're now over 28,000. So congratulations and thank you. So I could give you many accolades about how fantastic Jane is, but the most important thing for all of us in the room this evening and all of you viewing at home is that Jane's a skin therapist. She understands you as skin therapists. So she knows the importance of the power of touch and the power of connection and how each one of you make a difference in people's lives every day. So to really be able to share that more with you and to give you her vision of how we can make a difference, please welcome to the stage Miss Jane Wurwand.
Wow. Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. It's really an honor always to be here among you and my tribe. Our tribe, and such a thrill to have the chance. I mean, forget about the Academy Awards last night going global. Here in Los Angeles, to be able to reach out to all of our therapists around the world, and special shout outs to everyone watching in Australia. I promise them I give a shout out. Dr. Diana Howard, who's watching from Istanbul in Turkey, where she's teaching. And every one of our International Dermal Institute locations where they're hosting parties to watch tonight. And it's just a great opportunity to kick off this year, our 30th anniversary, with a broadcast that goes global, because it's really the beginning of a future that we intend to make a reality for so many of our classes. We intend to be able to teach here in Los Angeles and reach around the world. For you to be able to attend classes conducted by our team in London or Sydney or in Hong Kong, for them to be able to tune in and watch Dr. Diane Howard as she teaches in Sweden or Istanbul. We really are a global community and a global family. As Heather said, I've been a skin therapist my whole life. I started on Saturdays working in a salon, sweeping up hair and doing shampoos. I was 13 years old and employed illegally, I have to just share with you. And at 15, I had the enormous career leap of being made a shampoo girl, which was what I was told I was. And I was given a uniform, a pink nylon smock, and I was taught how to shampoo a head of hair. And in that small, very unglamorous salon on the south coast of England, I learned the importance of the support of a team. I had to shampoo everyone's hair, starting with the apprentices, then the juniors, then the junior stylists, all the way up to the artistic director, culminating in our manager, Mr. Roger. Everyone was a Mr. or a Miss then. And only when I had shampooed everyone's hair to their satisfaction was I given like the all clear, the green light that I could actually work on clients. And that was a Saturday girl at 15 shampooing hair. But what I learned right there at the backwash was the importance of a work ethic. And no matter what job you're doing, you do it to the best of your ability. And it takes the whole team to make everyone successful. And our industry is defined by that. We are about connection. We are about supporting each other. We have so much more that unites and unifies us than separates us. We teach around the world, and the singular thing that we come away from every single encounter with is that we all have so much in common. I've met skin therapists in other countries that don't even speak the same language as I do, but they'll share with me stories through an interpreter that could be your stories. They've worked on clients that I swear I've worked on. That same client, you've had them. You know that Thursday at 11 in the morning client, the one that you're maybe dreading doing, the one that you see the name in the book and you want to know who put that in the book. Whose writing is this? No, whose writing is this? That client circulates globally. And the great clients who want to feed you and bring you cake and cookies. You know those clients. They continually ply you with food, which, when you're busy and you've got a full book, you start your lunch at 11 in the morning, a sandwich, and you finish it maybe around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And if you're in a full-service salon, you know it's full of hair by the time you get to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But it's all protein to our tribe, isn't it? I mean, really, what's hair in your food? This is an industry which is unlike any other, and I can't imagine spending a life in any other industry but this one. It's an incredible blessing, and it is an honor to be part of your tribe. And the thing which always I come back to is this incredible opportunity that we have to just be with each other, to just connect with each other. And that when we look at, well, it would help if I was connected to my computer. When we look at, perhaps, Annette, can you come up? When we look at what connects us, so often now we look at our devices, and we all turned off our phones earlier, but we look at the devices that connect us. You have an iPhone, perhaps, or an Android phone, or an iPad, or a computer. And we look at those devices and we think about the word connection. When you hear that word, we tend to think of a technological connection. And that's true. We have the opportunity to connect with each other in ways that were unthinkable. Certainly 30 years ago, when we started the International Dermal Institute, 27 years ago when we launched Dermalogica, or even maybe 10 years ago. The idea of being able to reach out globally with one message or to communicate with each other through Twitter or through texting or through email even, that just seems dated email now, doesn't it? That was unthinkable, and yet now we take it for granted. This opportunity of connection, though, is really something that our industry has known about and practiced and built our success on all along. We congratulated our 100-hour diploma recipients earlier. We congratulate all of you who are experts in our expert program. Because what every single one of our certificates and diplomas represent is not just the connection that you have with your clients, but the connection that you had in the classroom with your fellow students, and the connection you had with that teacher that taught you, and the connection that you all have with each other. And so this idea of connection, even though we think of it as being device-driven now, it's really something that has built our industry. We've never had more ways to communicate with each other, with people we know, with people we don't know, with complete strangers. By being connected on any one of the social media platforms, we have the chance to talk to people that we already know and love, and we have the chance to talk to people that we've never met and will never meet, and yet may share something in common with us. And when you look at the numbers, it's staggering that YouTube gets 4 billion hits a day. A day. And Twitter gets 93 million tweets per day. And the fastest growing group of the 500 million Facebook users are women over the age of 55. So please, don't think this is about children or teenagers or young people. That is completely outdated. These are our clients. These are our potential customers and clients. So we have to use the platforms, and we've included so much of this in our education already, and I've spoken of it many times. We have to include this idea of connection through our devices in order to market ourselves, communicate with each other, and learn from each other. We've never had more opportunities to connect and message each other, to look for restaurants online, to look at menus, to have the chance to reach out and say, what do you think about this? What should I buy at True Religion Jeans? I had a text this morning from China, from a colleague, our sales manager in Southeast Asia, Peter Sim, who sent me a photograph of a bag, of a handbag. Wanted my opinion, what color I thought he should get it in. I loved that. And we went back and forth for a little while, and it was great. And I thought, wow, that wouldn't have been possible, and how great that I had a chance to not only communicate with Peter, but give him some advice on bags as well, which, is always a thrill. So we have the chance to do our bookings online, to communicate with each other online, to be able to use the devices we have to reach out to each other. The first time that Raymond Wurwand, my husband, my partner, my life partner, my rock, the first time he showed me on his iPhone how he could point his iPhone up the street and see businesses on that street and then download the menus. We were looking for a Vietnamese restaurant, and he pointed his phone up Santa Monica Boulevard, clicked on the app, and it brought up all Vietnamese restaurants in the area. And then you could click on the individual restaurant and pull up the menu, and then click on Open Table and make a reservation. And 7 minutes later, we were seated eating faux shrimp. So great. But I want to see that in our industry. I want to see people pointing their phone up the street and seeing all the salons. I want them to see all of your menus. I want them to see your services and book with you. I don't want us to be hidden on the 3rd floor of the medical building behind the bank, and maybe nobody knows that we're there. We've got to come out of that treatment room, come out of that space, come out of that comfort zone, and reach out so that we have our unfair share of the market and our unfair share of connection, because the work that we do is quite simply unique and rare and precious and important. And that's the thing that we have to continually come back to and revisit, because that's the thing that in amongst all the technology, it's that part of the connection that can get lost. So we look at the devices we have, and how many of you have an iPad? Yeah. I have to just tell you, men must have named that device, because when I heard the small version called a mini pad, there's no woman on the planet. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Wouldn't have called it that, but you know, there you go. I actually said this to a couple of friends of mine who are guys, and they looked at me completely blankly. Why? Why is that? You know, just ask any woman on the planet and they'll tell you. I love my iPad, and I have the large version and the smaller version. I travel with the smaller version. I keep the larger version in my kitchen. Easy, portable. I watch movies on it. Love that. In my daughter's class, this is a classroom at her school, at Windward School in West Los Angeles. This year, they were issued no textbooks. No books. No books. Everything on the iPad. Everything is downloaded onto the iPad. All the exam results, all the homework. There's an intranet so every student can talk to each other. They can talk to the teacher and communicate with them. No books. No rolly backpacks. No chiropractic exams anymore with the heaviness of the bag. And it's greener. It's greener because it doesn't require paper and the printing. When I first heard it, I said to my eldest daughter, I don't like the idea of you not having books. I can't imagine not having books. And she said to me, Mum, that's a really elitist thing to say because so many people in the world don't have access to a library or a book. It's a wealthy community that has access to books. And that's true. This is an equalizer. And so it truly is a whole new way of learning. And through the iPads, we can read our newspapers, we can take photographs. A little while ago, I was writing down instructions of how to operate an alarm system at our house. And I was copying down from the handwritten notes that the engineer had left. And my daughter just shook her head, my 14-year-old, and she grabbed my iPhone and said, Mum, just take a picture of it. And I said, well, that would be one way. And yes, of course, we have our own iPad apps, and we use the iPad to communicate, and we intend using it even more, and we use Skype to be able to communicate and teach, and that is an incredible opportunity for us to be able to reach out. And just when you thought you were getting used to everything changing and everything was comfortable for you, you realize this is a whole generation coming up that will never know not having Skype and iPads. And the idea of reading on paper or in a magazine will seem completely foreign and maybe not nearly as much fun. I want you to watch something. So we have an opportunity with our technology to connect, and it will be necessary to use all means to connect with our next generation of clients and students and skin therapists and owners globally who maybe never had access to anything else. So it is certainly a new world. But how great it is when you can use something like your computer or your iPad and Skype and communicate with your family. When you have the chance to see grandchildren that may live a very long way away, or you have the chance to share a meal with a family that might be on the other side of the world. One of the great things that I love to do is I'm involved with UCLA, and I'm on the entrepreneurial board there, which is fantastic. But you learn, obviously, so much from being around any form of education, certainly a great educational team like we see at UCLA. And one of the things we've seen with the students, especially the overseas students, is that they want to have dinner with their families. So many of the students, maybe from Southeast Asia or India, want to share a meal with their families. And so we'll Skype the family, it could be 3 o'clock in the morning, to share an evening meal with their family and just sit and chat and eat and carry on just as if they were sitting at the table. I thought to myself, wow, how much longer will it be before maybe we just sit with a whole table full of, iPads and no one's actually there at all, but we're all just knowing each other virtually. So this idea of connection feels really intimate, and yet at the same time, it feels really remote. And so we juggle with that. But it gives us the opportunity through, let's say, Skype, to reach out and teach in classrooms that we may never physically enter. It gives students in small rural schools the opportunity to learn from a professor that may be teaching at Princeton or Oxford or University of New South Wales in Australia. It gives small country classrooms access to educators that will never come into their school and yet will come into their classroom. And it gives us the opportunity to reach out and teach globally, just like we're doing tonight, where we can reach out and share our ideas and our thoughts with students and skin therapists around the world. And for me, that's amazing, because we all have a chance to then share and learn from each other. And yet, in all this connection, there's a disconnection. Because you've all seen this. If you have people in your home, and I'm not just saying it could be teenagers, it could be husbands, wives, friends, who have forgotten that it's really rude to use the telephone at the table. You're sitting right there, waiting to have the conversation, and yet the conversation's happening with someone else. There's a restaurant in Beverly Hills that will actually give you 15% off your dinner bill if you do not use your phone at the table. And so somewhere along the lines, we decided it was okay if you weren't talking on the phone, but it would be okay if we were texting on the phone. Really? Is it? When there are people sitting in museums, perhaps, that no longer see the art right behind them because they're busy talking to someone else, or no longer sit facing the ocean, or no longer see the ocean because busy, not even talking to each other, talking to other people, families who spent time to be together, and yet when they're together, aren't really together. So what's happening with this kind of connection? And is it really harmful, or are we just old-fashioned? Well, the trouble with this hyper-connection, which you'd think would make us feel so attached to each other, doesn't. And so now we're starting to see reports of how many people who live their lives virtually and online don't live a full life. This was a young man who fatally shot a crowd in Japan, and this I thought was chilling. He was in a virtual world. He was not connected to anyone. That's dangerous, because you see, as human beings, we have to be connected. It is a fundamental part of being a human. We must connect. And it's all very well to use virtual connection, and we must use it to build our business because we want to build our business to bring people in to actually be connected to a human being, us and each other. That's critically important. And so when we look around us in everyday life, you'll see people seeking human connection. Because you see, a child that's left without human touch is a child that doesn't develop emotionally or physically or intellectually. It's a child that is starved of connection. And as adults, we have an epidemic in our society, and the epidemic is loneliness. And as humans, we so crave the connection with another human that we will seek it out, even if it's anonymous. So you can go into probably any coffee shop, any Starbucks, any Pete's, any one of them, and you see people on their computers. Now, they've got electricity at home, and they could make coffee at home, one assumes. But you see, the difference is there aren't other people at home. And so when we take ourselves out, we want to be among other people. I think it's one of the single greatest compelling reasons to also come to a salon. I don't think it's an accident that the first business established in Kabul, in Afghanistan, after the fall of the Taliban, was a beauty school. And I use the word purposely because that's what they were called, the Beauty School of Kabul. Or that the first business established in Kigali, Rwanda, after the genocide, was a beauty school. And I don't think it was because suddenly everybody thought the most important thing to do would be to get their hair done. No, we're a beehive. We're a beehive of connection. We are an authorized, legitimate invitation to come in and be connected to other people. That's what our industry is all about. That's what we are all about, and we mustn't lose sight of that. And so when we look around us, we see people seeking human connection. Despite all the electronic connection that we have, we need a human connection. And I pose the question, could we be the cavalry? Could our industry actually have a much greater role to play in this new world than perhaps we ever realized? And it's not just about the service, and it's not just about buying the product. It's about providing an opportunity to be with people. This was a scene at our Dermalogica in Soho location. Everybody coming in, 120 people for face mapping and skin bar and samples and just being together, just joining in, just coming to a place where we could be with other like-minded people. And the thing that we provide that I think is so important to remember is not just physical touch when we touch people. I mean, of course we do touch people physically with our hands, but it's this idea of human touch through kindness, through being fully present, being in the space, in the moment, making eye contact, being there, not being distracted. And so I really give a shout out to us. Stay present. Be in the moment. Tomorrow, when you're back at work, don't glance down at your phone. Don't look away for a few seconds thinking that person won't realize we broke eye contact. You know it immediately. You're at a party talking to someone and they break eye contact, just briefly, for 10 seconds, because they're looking at someone more interesting that's over your shoulder. Well, that's what you think. That may not be what they're doing, but it's what we think. And immediately you thought that they were really interested in what you had to say, and you were really interested in them, but that 10-second break, and you're like, oh, forget it. They're not real. They were faking it. They're not really interested. I don't really like them, because they don't like me. These are all the crazy things that go on in our head in 10 seconds. In 10 seconds. We We jump to all these other conclusions. It's like me, if I see a coffee stain on the flop-down table on the airplane, oh, I'm not happy. I'm not, because I think they haven't serviced the plane. I think they haven't serviced the engines, and I'm worried there's like Denzel Washington at the front of the cockpit. I'm terrified. Because I think if they can't even clean up the coffee stain on the tray table, what the hell have they done with the Rolls-Royce engines? We jump to all this craziness. So be present, be in the moment, be fully connected. You see, what we do is so crazy and rare and strange. I mean, we don't think it's strange because we're in the tribe. We're in the hair, nail, massage, skin tribe. We don't think anything's crazy. We think it's perfectly, legitimate to, have every part of your body waxed or, attended to. There's no limit to what we could dream up to do to people. Give us half a chance and we'll be dreaming up something no one could have thought of. What we do, we take for granted almost because we're just so used to that's what we do. And we don't stop to think what we do is, in fact, really quite odd. So, most times you meet somebody and you say, hello, Natalie. So nice to meet you. It's a pleasure. This is comfortable, isn't it? Because I'm shaking your hand. Doesn't feel weird, does it? No. So, because I'm within the 2-foot personal space thing, so I'm not a crazy person or psychotic. And then sometimes you might just, touch someone's arm, and that feels a bit more intimate, doesn't it, Natalie? It's just a bit strange if I just came up and did that. But you see, here's what we do. We actually take bookings from complete strangers, and we ask them to allow us to just touch them. So we just come up and just touch their face. Oh, hello, Natalie. It's so nice to meet you. And then what we do something even stranger. What we do is we actually ask them to come into a small, dark room, naked, usually, or semi-naked, and then we approach them from behind. It's the single most threatening thing you can do to another human being is approach them, you're a stranger, approach them while they're naked, prone, in a dark room, from behind. And then we say, just relax. Just relax. And then we touch their face. This is incredibly intimate. This is so intimate to touch someone's face. When we have children around, so if you've got young children around you or babies, they always want to touch a person's face. It's instinctive. A baby reaches up, grabs your face. And we stop them doing that because we say it's sort of rude. We say, no, don't touch, don't touch the lady's face, or don't touch, that man's face. No, sorry. And we apologize for it because this is considered incredibly intimate. We do this for our work. This is what we do. This is what we love to do. I love you, Natalie. And not only do we do this, but while Natalie, if she were lying down, you would also realize that her crown chakra, her most vulnerable point, is right against my center of energy, my hara, where my life was, my prana, my energy resides. I have her head wedged up against my center of energy. So just relax with that. Thank you, Natalie. So what we do that we take for granted, just the most simple thing of giving a skin treatment is incredibly odd to anybody but those in our tribe, us. It's so rare. It's so special, and it's so needed. Because you see, we are a touch-starved society. We are like the walking wounded. So I propose we start thinking about what it is that we do. So people probably say this to you, what do you do? What do you do for a living? And I don't know, what do you say when someone says that? I'm a skin therapist. You might say I'm an esthetician, or I'm a hairstylist, or a nail technician, I'm a massage therapist. I say I'm a skin therapist. And maybe you say you work in a salon or a spa or a medi-spa or wherever your place of work is. I'm a skin therapist. I work in a skin center. Or I'm a licensed skin therapist, and I work in a skin center. Or you might, I'm a licensed skin therapist. I work in a skin center in Claremont. And that's what I do. there's another part to that. You see, there's the what we do, there's the how we do it, and there's the why we do it. And there is a great piece on TED. I love TED Talks by Simon Sinek. And he talks about this golden circle. People talk about what do you do? And then they say, how do you do it? So you might say, well, I'm a licensed skin therapist and I work in a skin center and I give skin treatments and I sell skincare products. Why do you do it? That's the core thing. So I propose that we work from the middle out. I propose that we start with the why. Why do you do what you do? What is the purpose of it? And then how do you do what you do? And then, of course, what in the hell do you do? So rather than start with for our own intention, rather than start with the what do you do and define yourself by that, or the how do you do it and define yourself by that, why do you do it? Why do you do this work? Now, I think some of our tribe might say, well, I do this work to improve people's skin. Yes. Why do you want to improve their skin? Why do you want to improve their skin? Because you see, I think if you stop at the, I want to improve their skin, you're a mechanic. Because that's quite mechanical, doing extractions, applying product. Why do you want to improve their skin? And I think if you dig in there, and you're the kind of skin therapist that gives a treatment, doesn't do a treatment, gives a treatment, big difference. If you're a skin therapist that gives a treatment, you want to improve their skin because you know that by improving skin and bringing it to its optimum health, you change a person's life. You change a person's life. Your skin defines you. In our societies, our skin defines us by the health of the skin, the color of the skin, the age of the skin. All kinds of things wrapped up in skin that define us. We'd say, I want my client's skin to be in its optimum health because it will improve their life. And it will, and it does. Wow. So really, you're in the improving someone's life business. I will tell you that when you work on acne skin and you get a result and you improve it, you've changed that person's life. You've changed their life. Wow. Okay, now we're getting great. Now it's getting magical. We're changing people's lives. And I take it one step further. When you're touching someone's skin, you're touching them. It's so rare. You're touching their life. You're giving them human love. We're kind, we're nurturing. If we are present and in the moment and not going through the mechanics and not just going through the treatment, doing it, thinking what we're going to have for dinner tonight. Know how many calories are in a Boston chicken? It's a protein. Because you see, once you get to this stage where you've got muscle memory, really, it's not even important if the client's there. Oh, they just left, I guess. You know. What? Where are we? We've all done it. You know, we've all done it. We've all been there. We've all been at that stage where you think, I don't know if I'm doing the cleansing or the massage. What am I doing? And then you glance over at the water bowl, and because it's clean, you know it's the cleansing. Oh, thank goodness. I'm confused. We've done it. Don't beat ourselves up. But that's when we know we're at a dangerous fork in the road. But come back. Don't get distracted. Stay present, stay real, stay focused, stay authentic, stay connected. That's right there in the room, right there. Stay right there. It's like moving meditation. This is where we need to be. So when we talk about the why do you do this work? Don't tell me it's for the money, because I know it's not. Because we have more therapists that say to us, especially in the early point of their education, I do this because I love it. I don't make any money at it. Well, we want to change that. Of course. Because you see, I don't think that's acceptable. I think that you should have something which gives you purpose and also pays the bills, pays the rent. Of course. So what we do is we reach out, we touch people. The why we do it is because, quite simply, changes people's lives. I once talked to a real estate broker, and they said to me that they didn't sell houses, they helped build families. They provide a home. They look for the right home for that family to be nurtured and to grow. And I spoke to an architect, and he said to me, he builds communities. He builds healthy schools and hospitals and medical centers and places and parks where the community can center. Do you see the difference in that vision to just, well, I'm an architect and I design buildings? Why? Come from the why. Start with the why. That's what brought us to this industry. Start with the why. And tomorrow and going forward, I want all of us to think of the why. Why am I doing this work? What is it that I bring? And start from that place. And the reason is, and here's the great thing, it makes a difference in how we are perceived. The brain is split into 3 areas: the neocortex, the paleocortex, and the reptilian brain. The limbic and the reptilian brains do not understand language. The neocortex is where we process our language. This is where we have our rational or thinking brain. This is the area where what I am saying to you now, you're processing the language. If you speak English, you're processing it in English. If I were here speaking Greek, and you do not speak Greek, I would be saying exactly the same thing, but you would not understand it because you don't speak Greek. You would miss the point. You would miss the information. You wouldn't understand what I was saying. But our limbic and reptilian brains are our instinctual and emotional brains. Even though you couldn't speak Greek, you would know how it made you feel, whatever I was saying. Does that make sense? So when somebody is speaking to us, we're processing the language. We can process vast amounts of information. We understand the facts they're giving us. But the other part of our brain is not processing the language. It is saying, how do I feel about what this person is saying? So the person that broke eye contact with you for the 10 seconds, you got that immediately in the emotional part of your brain. Had nothing to do with whatever they said. They could be saying, you are the most fascinating person in the room. Forget it, because I saw you look over my shoulder. Nothing you can say can change the way I just felt. Nothing you can say. And it may not even be rational, but you can't say anything to make me change the way I just felt. When we tell people what we do, you can say any amount of language. You can process any kind of information. You can describe any Loma, Lindy, Bundy, Bindi, aromatherapy, seaweed, body wrap with caviar. I don't really care what you're saying. I'm processing how do I feel about what you're saying. And do I think you believe it? Is what you're saying authentic? And is what you're saying truthful? And is what you're saying the reason why you do this work? It's not about what we say. It's about how we make the person feel. Maya Angelou said, people forget what you said, they'll forget how you said it, but they will never forget the way you made them feel. That's what we do. How do you make your clients feel? And when you speak, are you coming from that place of why? Are you coming from that place of truth? Are you coming from that place of authenticity? Because the reason this matters is because you don't spell love. You feel it. You feel it. You feel that chemistry. When you go on that first date, It might have been a long time for many of us when you went on the first date. I've been with Raymond for 30 years, so it's a long time since the first date, but you still remember that feeling. You know that chemistry, and you can't fake it. You know if that chemistry is there or not. You know if you're going to have a second date or not. It's there. It's real. I have 3 sisters. 2 of them are nurses. My one sister is a critical care nurse in a cardiac unit. And a few years ago, she asked me, I was visiting the UK, and she asked me if I wanted to come by and see her while she was on duty, and I said yes, and she was working the night shift. So she has dinner at like midnight. So she said to me, come by to the ward and we'll go down to the break room. I said, fine. So I went to the ward and it was quiet, and on a critical care ward, the beds were lined up almost like in a semicircle with a screen between each bed, and then the nurses' station, they have all the computers and all the monitors that are monitoring all the machines that everybody is attached to. And I walked up to the nurses' station and I couldn't see my sister, and my sister was running the ward, so it would be a good idea if she was there. So I said to the other nurse who was on duty, you know, if you see my Sally, and she pointed over, and my sister was sitting, she'd pulled up a chair to the bedside of an elderly man who was completely unconscious, and she was holding his hand. And she wasn't just holding his hand, she was looking at him. And she was just sitting very quietly. And after a little while, I didn't want to disturb her. And after a little while, I said to her, she came away, and I said to her, wow, you know, what's going on? Is it like an emergency? It didn't look like it was an emergency. She wasn't, you know, there wasn't a lot going on. And she said to me, we don't think he's going to make it through tonight. And I said, wow, I mean, what were you doing? And she said, I was just loving him. I was just being with him. And I said, but did you know you were there? And she said, oh, yes. He knew I was there. And I felt like such a slacker. I thought, this is what she does. And yet, you know what? Our clients know when we are there. When I was 18 years old, I was working in one of my first positions as a junior skin therapist, and I had an elderly lady. Her name was Mrs. Hurd. I can say her name now because she must be dead. She was in her early 80s then. I was 18, she was in her early 80s, I'm 54, so you do the math. She cannot be around. Anyway, she used to come on the bus, and she used to come in for a treatment every couple of weeks. For a skin treatment. It was quite expensive. I mean, to me as a young girl, I thought it was, you know, quite expensive. And we were promoting those days, you know, luxury, pampering, indulgence, all the things that I really can't stand, but it's my teeth on edge now. But she came every couple of weeks, and I said to her after a few visits, I said, you know, Mrs. Hurd, I just wanted to say to you that it's not necessary for you to come every 2 weeks. I always say once every epidermis. Every 6 to 8 weeks is great for a skin treatment. And then, you know, you can use products at home. But I just don't want you to feel like, because I thought maybe somebody had told her every 2 weeks or something. I said, I just don't want you to feel like you have to come, you know, this often. You could come every 8 weeks and that would be fine. And I knew that, you know, cell growth slows down, the epidermis turns over slower as you get older. So I figured in her 80s, she could probably come every 6 months and we'd be all right. So she said to me, she held my hand, she said, you know, my dear, if you don't mind, I'd like to keep coming. This is the only place that anyone ever touches me. And I learned a very important lesson right there from that very first client of mine. There she was. She wasn't coming for the skin treatment. She was coming on the bus every 2 weeks because I was there and I loved taking care of her. And I didn't understand the fullness of what she had taught me right there. And I do now. And I'm so regretful that so many in our industry forget the why we do. Or we simplify it and we think it's not important, or we think it's not necessary, or we think it's not valued. And it is. You see, what we do is we connect. And we've got to use The power of electrical connection, our devices, our phones, our iPads, our emails, our Twitter, our Facebook, our social media platforms. We've got to use all of them for the very simple reason of bringing people in to connect with them. Because this is what we do. We connect people to each other. When you touch somebody, the human body releases oxytocin. That is the chemical that is released. It's an estrogen-dependent chemical that is released in the body when you are touched. It is the chemical that is released when you give birth, and it allows you to bond and nurture the infant. So we don't abandon our babies right, left, and center. We are connected to them. But the crazy thing is that when you are touched and oxytocin is released, it is also released in the person doing the touching, us. When you are working on a client, when you are touching their skin, not only are you releasing this amazing chemical in their body that bonds and connects and nurtures, it is being released in your body too. I think it's the reason why people that do a great deal of full body massage are always in a semi-dreamy state. You notice that? It is calming, it is nurturing, it is bonding, makes us love our clients. Love you, Natalie. That chemical is released when we do our work. And that means that person that comes in who may be touch-starved, who may have not realized that they were touch-starved and were just craving a human connection, it means that we are able to reach out, be fully authentic, and really connect. And there's the thing, being fully authentic, being who you are, being your real self, present in the moment, right there. That's what it takes to make a connection. To have the vulnerability of being kind, of making eye contact, of reaching out. And let's start being kind. Not just thinking that kindness comes from when we're touching someone. We touch people with our eyes, with our words, with our voices. I'm amazed at how many people are in a line at Starbucks and never even say thank you or please. Never make eye contact with the person making the coffee. I flew back from New York last week and a guy walked up with his cell phone and he downloaded his boarding pass on the mobile app and he just slapped it down on the little reader as we were boarding the plane, just slapped it down, didn't even say a word. Would it have killed him to say hello to the ground staff? Would it have killed him to just say hello, how are you, make eye contact, even not say anything, just be present? Just think about it, staying connected, being connected all the time. That's what it takes to have that authentic connection. Because what we do, what we really do, we feed hungry skin. And I'm not talking about the product. I'm not talking about the nourishing night cream. I'm not talking about the ultra-calming cleanser. I'm not talking about whatever product it is that we're applying. That's a vehicle for us to be able to share what we really do. We feed hungry skin. We've got people walking around with hungry skin. They're hungry to be touched. They're disconnected from their families. They're disconnected maybe by distance or by emotion. They are hungry for human connection. They are hungry for touch. We are the touch-starved, love-starved, walking wounded of a lonely society. And I do believe that we might be the cavalry. I do believe that the why of what we do is quite simply this. We touch people. We've got young teenagers who become sexually active very young, and it's not because, they will say it's not because of the sexual urge, it's because they want to be loved and held. We've got teenagers having babies, and they will say over and over again, these young girls say, I wanted something that was really mine to love and to love me back. We're confused. We don't realize it's our skin that's hungry. We distract it with shopping or internet shopping or buying or decorating. We're more comfortable touching the things we own than the people we know. We have a job of work to do. And it can be as simple as reaching out. We have a career built around it. But the rest of the world who isn't in our tribe sure as heck needs us. One of my favorite things to share is this. Free Hugs is a real-life story of a young man landed in Sydney, Australia, didn't know anybody, and decided in this age of social disconnection and lack of human contact, he was just going to set out to hug people. He was lonely, and he felt that people were too disconnected. So he started offering free hugs. People got word of it, the police got word of it and decided, well, that can't be right, and they wanted to ban it because maybe it violated the health laws. And they tried to ban it, and he got up a petition of people that thought free hugs was a good idea. And so we have a career built around this connection. But I want you to watch something and understand the importance and the need and the desire for this simple act.
I don't mind where you come from, as long as you come to me. But I don't like illusions, I can't see them clearly. I don't care, no, I wouldn't dare to fix the twist in you. You've shown me eventually what you do. I don't mind, I don't care, as long as you're here. Go ahead, tell me you'll leave again. You'll just come back running, holding your scarred in hand. It's all the same, and I'll take you for who you are. If you take me for everything, do it all over again. It's all the same. Hours slide and days go by till you decide to come. However long you stay is all that I am. I don't mind, I don't care, as long as you're here. Go ahead, tell me you'll leave again. You'll just come back running, holding your scarred hand. It's all the same, and I'll take you for who you are. If you take me for everything, do it all over again. It's always the same. Go ahead, say it, you're leaving. You'll just come back running, holding your scarred heart in hand. It's all the same, and I'll take you for who you are. If you take me for everything, do it all over again. It's all the same.
Just a simple act of kindness. And we have a career and an industry that is built around so much more than just a hug. We are a tribe that quite simply, if we just return to the why and don't get so caught up in the what and the how, but the why we do our work. You are my why. This work is my why. And I thank you for giving that to me. And I love you. Thanks, Heather.
Thank you. I don't know about anybody else, but who wants a free hug? That was amazing, Jane. Thank you so very much. Oh, look, we're all hugging. One of the things that you may have heard Jane mention, and one of the things that we are celebrating this year, is that it is the International Dermal Institute's 30th anniversary. 30 years of postgraduate education. So, of course, we want to celebrate with you, because you're the ones that make this happen, and you're the ones that we do this for, because you know that our mission is the success and respect of the professional skin therapist. But we also want to celebrate with our founder. So we're not done with you yet, Jane. You want to come back up here for me, please? What's an anniversary without some cake? Annette and Alison. Happy anniversary.
Oh, well, Raymond, you got to come up. Raymond never wants to come on up, darling. Oh, my God.
Thank you.
Wow, this is fantastic. When we're, oh my goodness, well. 30 years.
I thought you were 30.
Well, yeah, well, you have a short memory. I was 12 when we started the company. Ray and I think you know our story. We both emigrated here with a suitcase each as boyfriend and girlfriend. And have been married now for 23 years. We have two amazing daughters, Molly and Lucy, who are 18 and 14, and probably the two best products we ever produced. But we came without our family, and we came to pursue the American dream, because we believed, and we still do, more dreams come true here than any other place in the world. And thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So good.
I know, kind of fancy.
So good.
Throw your candles out.
Thank you.
So thank you so very much. For those of you watching us live at home, thank you for tuning in. It's been a pleasure to have absolutely everybody here. For those of you here, we have a giant version of this in the student area, so everyone has a sweet treat to go home as our thank you. And here's to 30 more years. And again, Jane, thank you so much. And again, thank you for everybody that tuned in, everybody that sat in our training centers across the United States watching us live right now, everybody that's home watching us on your computers. You're here with us. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you.